Does anyone else just have a really meh bond with their siblings? I personally know many people like this. It seems to be more common actually than the close relationships presented on TV. Almost all my friends describe having a kind of meh, they're alright but a not super close relationship to their siblings. Yet, the truth is siblings can just not click on some level. You can't choose the siblings, but you can choose your friends. Not to say there aren't many people with very good sibling relationships. I suppose being friends with your sibling can be confounded by competitiveness or favoritism. Yep, my wife thinks our family is dysfunctional, but we were raised in a time when long distance calls were expensive and calling family was limited to birthdays and emergencies. Haven't spoken to any of them since early January when there was a death in the family. Doesn't bother me a bit. I'm doing fine, and take a no news is good news approach with them. Thank you for the perspective. I have a large extended family across the globe, and we've made more of an effort to get to know one another now than we did 10-15 years ago, and I never even thought of how expensive long distance calls were, or airfare and international travel compared to these days. I feel this to an extent. I love my sister to death, don't get me wrong, but I can literally go months without talking to her. We have vastly different interests and friends groups, so there isn't a real common ground for us outside of family events or something. Yep, I don't wish my brother any ill, except perhaps when he's being a smug ass lol. We just don't have any interest in each other's lives, and we never talk or hug or anything like that. We have almost nothing in common aside from our genes. Yeah, exactly how I feel. Like nothing about my sister and I really just matches up. We find different things funny. We have different hobbies. We like to talk about different things, and I find her personality mildly annoying most of the time. Not that I think she's toxic or that I want to cut her off, but I just prefer limiting the time spent with her. Same. My brother and I are acquaintances, almost strangers, who have known each other all our lives. We fought a lot as kids, like you say you did with your sister. It's just the way it is, and I feel kinda insulted by people, like my stepmother, who act like that's deeply regrettable. It's only bad or even not normal for people who have internalized that things are supposed to be different. I saw my relationship with my siblings going this way as well. We also fought a lot as kids and I got married young and moved away. Tragedies, deaths made me realize that I would be really sad to lose any one of them and not have had a good relationship. So I've spent several years rebuilding our relationships, even though we are far apart. I've made the efforts to rekindle the relationship and I'm happy to say our bond is stronger now than ever before. They are good people and I'm happy to have them in my life. Relationships take work, even family ones. My brother is on the spectrum. While I love him because he is blood, I simply cannot trust him. Without fully excusing his behavior, his condition makes him extremely likely to lie or stretch the truth or create imaginary scenarios. Hearing blatant untruths being passed to you as if they were facts is unnerving no matter who is doing it. It's truly unfortunate because I just want to trust my brother and I am not able to. When we were growing up, my brother and I hated one another, sometimes leading to pretty violent fights. He beat me unconscious once. We've both moved past it and have an okay relationship, but despite only living one town apart, we almost never talk or see one another outside of holidays. I've tried a few times, but he's just not interested. I even offered to babysit his kids. Nothing. Oh my. If my sister ever beat me unconscious, honestly I doubt I would ever be able to forgive her for that. Good on you though, for trying to reach out. I'm not super close to my brother, and he's my twin, which seem to go double against pop culture. We don't hate each other, but we aren't close. I might talk to him 4 times a year. My sisters and I, 24M, are just so different from each other and from what our parents expect, that the whole family hardly talks to each other. We all live in the same city and see each other maybe 4 times a year. My brothers are 12 and 15 years older than me, so there was a big maturity gap. As the youngest, I kinda just annoyed them for attention until they moved out or went to college. I shared more interests with my oldest brother, but we've become distant over the years. He lives farther away and has a stressful job and a family, while I'm busy with my own job and personal life. I'm also a bit drained by hanging out with children, and they each have at least 3, which is more of a failing on my part I guess. Either way, we pretty much just see each other on holidays, and have awkward small talk conversations. Yeah, absolutely. I have 2 younger brothers, and I'm not particularly close to either of them. I see the youngest one more often, but he's very immature for his age, 23, so it can be tiring spending time with him. The older of the 2 is only a year and a half younger than me. I rarely see him, and in all honesty, I feel anxious when I know I have to see him alone because we have very little in common and have nothing to talk about, so it's always quite awkward. I've always felt the anxiety too. Like whenever my sister would come home from holidays, I'd feel extremely anxious to be in a room alone with her, because she would always try to start small talk and it just was painfully awkward. There's just really nothing to talk about. I'm one of 6. It's 28M, 26F, me, 21F, 18F, 17M, 10M, all full-blooded siblings. I'm close and getting closer to my 2 sisters even though I live on the other side of the world to them. Even though me and my older brother grew up doing a lot of things together, I wouldn't say we were ever close, just sort of comfortable. I have no idea what's going on with him or my other brothers. It is sort of a mere relationship, not bad, just a. Yeah, this is exactly me and my sister. But then in a younger stage, we still live in the same house and thus see each other a lot. I thought I did. Then in 2015 my brother died of a heart attack. 6 months later both my elderly parents passed. No, we are very close. Yeah, I'm the baby by 5 years to my step siblings, which isn't too bad of a gap, but because they never took much of an interest getting to know me when we were all kids and because I was cripplingly shy and anxious, we never developed a relationship. They're my family but we have nothing in common. I'm really only close with my older brother and one of my older sisters. My oldest sister is just about 12 years older than me, so by the time she was in college I was just going into elementary school. She also moved out pretty much immediately after she graduated, so I never really got to know her. That's the only mere sibling relationship I have though, just too big of an age gap. LOL. I talk to my brothers maybe once every couple years. I barely remember living with them before our rent split. I would like to be closer and maybe someday. Careful with the someday approach. Before you know it, years have passed and you start thinking meh, it's just the way it is, until it might be too late and you might regret not doing anything sooner. It's the exact same with me, a younger sister, with whom I fought endlessly when we were kids and now just meh, almost like we're from very different cultural backgrounds. Yes, I get so jealous of people who are really close. Me and my brother get along fine. He's 31 and I'm 23. He still lives at home, but whenever I visit we have the usual conversations. And when he first moved back home we'd watch TV and laugh together. One time I was sad and he bought me chocolate, but that's as far as it ever got. He doesn't come to my house and I don't visit him. We haven't messaged in months, not called in our lives. I might see him at Christmas if we do anything, but we haven't for a few years now. I'd be sad if he died, but I don't necessarily care that he's alive, if that makes sense. Like his life has no bearing on mine. My sisters are all really great people. I like them and enjoy spending time with them when they are in town, but we can go months without talking. I think that me being a good bit younger than them plays a big part in why we never formed a super close bond. I was in 6th grade when my youngest sister graduated high school. As for my brother, he was an abusive butt, so we obviously don't talk anymore. My sister and I have nothing in common. Just nothing. We don't like the same music, TV shows, people, clothing style. We have nothing to talk about. We also fought a lot from when we hit puberty. Now we're 20 years further down the road and you know, we're family, but I wouldn't call what we have a relationship. There is always people that just aren't your kind of people. They just sometimes happen to be closely related to you. Yup, me and my brother are only 15 months apart and talk 3-4 times a year on Facebook Messenger. I don't even know his day-to-day phone number. He lives in a different country and I only have his US number. We get along fine when we're together, but there's just no need to talk much when we're not. Yep, We lived in different countries for years. Now we live in the same country but different cities. Very merry relationship. No issues, but we're very different as people and don't think we'd even consider each other friends. Both my parents are both quite cold as people also. We also have a merry relationship. My wife finds it weird because she's super close with all her family. Honestly doesn't bother me. For now my relationship with my sister is fine, but it does feel like it's going in that exact direction. Interesting to see that someone else has the same kind of problem. Just curious. But what is age difference between you two? Yeah, my sister and I were stupidly close growing up. Once in high school my sister and I were walking around Disneyland holding hands because we just always did, and a woman yelled at us for it. We went from talking every day and meeting up multiple times a week to me sending her dog and serial killer memes every so often. Her current boyfriend, soon to be fiance, had a hand in that, but we were already drifting when he started to drive a divide between us. Out of nowhere she messaged me last week, so we're having a socially distanced lunch this Friday outside my work. I'm really excited because I freaking miss her, but I'm also scared she's doing this to tell me she is pregnant. Good luck with the meeting. I'm the youngest of 3 with an age difference of 11ish years between myself and my older sister. By the time I was old enough to start developing relationships with my siblings, my brother, the oldest, went to army boot camp and my sister was dating around and more interested in boys than a kid sibling. I was closer to my nephew, 7 years difference than my siblings. Now that I'm an adult, my brother is a bad guy, so I don't talk to him unless I have to. My sister is in a bad relationship, so she doesn't contact me that often anyways. This sounds exactly how I am with my brothers. We get along well enough when we're around each other, which is fairly often because we are close with our mom and she has us visit for dinner once a week, but it's a lot of surface level small talk with them, like we're co-workers. As kids we definitely fought a ton and I often felt genuine hatred towards them. But we did get along sometimes and play video games together. It didn't help that they are twin brothers, so I was and still am the third wheel younger sister around them. It's pretty clear that they are close to each other and hang out together a lot, but not with me. I can't remember the last time I ever hung out with either of them one-on-one. It's kinda sad, but I have my own friends that I spend my time with, so it doesn't really bother me. I message my sisters most days. We have a never-ending chat going. Also have another that includes our mum and brother. I'm not a social person. Feel no need to have close friends. So other than work, those message threads are the extent of my social interactions. My brother rarely writes anything on the chat, other than an occasional brief response to a direct question. We live far away from each other, have almost nothing in common, and neither of us are the type to randomly call up and talk to each other. Most of what I know of him is second or third hand through my mum or sisters, or a few Facebook posts. I can't remember the last time I had a direct conversation with him. Might have been 3 years ago when I last saw him, I think. I'm the same with my dad. Haven't spoken to him in months, and he hates texting, so it's calls or nothing. He's also hard of hearing, so calls are mostly him talking to me, and not really hearing my responses. Me with my older brother. We used to be best friends when we were children, but as we growing older, we just turn. We talked, but only when necessary. But when we talked, our conversation tend to turn into a small fight because of our thought differences. So yeah. I kinda don't like it, but I'm not very close with either my brothers. I try with one and always end up fighting with him. We are completely opposite, opposing viewpoints, and not much in common. My other brother and I used to work together and were closer. We no longer work together. I moved with my job and had kids. He never calls and rarely returns a call. I haven't talked to him in maybe a year, and if I'm able to get a hold of him, he acts like I'm bothering him. I'm kinda just done with the whole thing. Sure, I could keep forcing it, but why? They're just people, and there's lots of people that I don't have things in common with or know at all. Now they are in that group. Yes, me and my younger sister are not close. Your second paragraph matches our relationship almost exactly. Only difference is that we don't communicate at all, unless one of needs something. We never even really liked each other, to be honest. Maybe once we're both in our 60s or whatever, we'll get real close like my mom and all her sisters did. But right now I don't care. Also, I'm harboring some resentment right now. Due to mental health reasons, she started treating my parents and all of her friends like garbage a few years ago. My parents would die for her. They gave her and I the best childhoods any kid could ever want. They have done everything they can to help her now. Watching her treat them so horribly has made it really hard for me to feel sympathy for her. I know that's a problem that I need to work past, but it's hard. I have a mere relationship with my parent. If you are an adult, OP, you don't have to deal with anyone you don't want to. You don't owe anyone anything. Absolutely, I love my sister. I do. I think she's an awesome person. She works hard. She's generally good. But our personalities are so different. If I met her randomly at a party, we wouldn't become friends. My sister and I grew up apart for the most part and fought constantly when we were together. We'd visit each other once or twice a year into early adulthood, but it was always a bit awkward and impersonal. Finally, about 2 years ago, my sister was at my house and started crying and saying that she wanted to go home because it felt like we were total strangers. That was the moment we decided that we wanted to have a better relationship with each other, and have been working on it ever since. We talk most days now and I feel like we really get each other. If you want to have a close relationship with your sibling, the only people who are going to make that happen are you two. If you don't want to be close, I think that's okay too. Currently I have a brother where the only way we have fun with each other is through video games, and that's mostly because I don't like the people he hangs out with, except for a few. But other than that, his personality is so bland, so we tend to ignore each other unless we want something from the other person. I don't have much to do with my siblings. It gets less all the time. One moved to my neighborhood and we still don't connect. I thought I had grown close to my sister, but it seems now that she just wanted me to take care of her, so she had no responsibilities. She wouldn't even chip in for food but would buy herself snacks and keep them in her room. In spite of my increasing frustration and asking for help, she would just turn on the waterworks and thought that was payment enough. I'd prefer to not even see my sibling occasionally, but needs must. One thinks they're political but just spout whatever the news the father says, even when the spouting's conflict. This one also has no critical thinking skills. The other is something of a left-backer in recovery. One is LGBT, one is very much cishet, and kind of incel-esque while we're at it. That's a start. I did until I lived with her to help take care of our grandparents, and it turned into a toxic relationship. Most of my life I had that bond with her. I have a sister who is 10 years older than me. I'm 24, and I feel the same way. For me it was the age difference. We follow such different lives at different stages. We are nice to each other etc, but that's about it. Yep, I moved out of state a year and a half ago and I've texted her maybe twice. There's no bad feelings. It's just neither of us care one way or the other. This is exactly my relationship with both my siblings. I have a twin brother I am estranged from and a sister I wouldn't really care if I ever spoke with again. We do speak maybe twice a year. All of this stems from their treatment of my parents, who gave us a great life, and continue to. Their treatment of my mom and dad baffles my mind and it makes me crazy. My parents have good decent relationships with them because they are more tolerant than I, and they want to maintain those relationships. Me, not so much. I have almost nothing in common with my younger brother. We're both in our 20s. Whilst other friends of my friend group regularly brought their siblings to gatherings, my brother has never participated in anything I did. I don't even know any of his friends. Relationship status, sexuality, nothing. We share the same sense of humor and can communicate by just exchanging glances, especially at boring family events. But I've never had a relationship with him like other people seem to have. I call him every few weeks to talk about the newest gossip and we go on family vacations every now and then when our mother forces us to, but that's about it nowadays. I couldn't wait to get away from my parents and siblings. So much freedom. I mean, I'll show up for the funeral or to sign the nursing home papers, but that's about it. Way happier. I'm pretty indifferent to my little brother. We are 5 years apart and fought a lot as kids. He was demonstrably the favorite, which doesn't lend well to sibling affection. I'm 40. My closest sibling is 46. I'm just on the edge of being Jenks millennial. Thanks to my parents putting me in French immersion school, half French half English, and me never having spoken French before in my life, I was held back a year in grade 1. All my friends are millennials. All my family is Jenks. Boomer and silent generation parents. All my friends listened to rap and newer music. My family hated it and was into rock, etc. There's a clear divide in our cultures. That said, we definitely all get along, but I can't relate to them much. I was 13 when they started having kids and I decided not to have kids. None of their kids would have been close to the same age either if I did decide to have kids. They all planned family stuff. I usually don't go because, well, most of it revolved around their kids. These days the only time I really see them is holidays, so yeah, our relationship is pretty meh. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.